Hello, and Alice is on the
Um,
train.
I am on the Wi-Fi, but if it goes, I'm very sorry. But I am here.
That's all right. Traveling back from London.
Yes. Yeah. Been down there for the weekend. Went to go see Mean Girls at the theatre, and my sister was trying on some wedding dresses. So very fun weekend.
Nice
Um,
weekend. It's good.
yeah,
It's
I'm
good.
back now.
Well,
Yeah,
I know you've got a busy day,
but
so we'll get straight
but
into the
yes,
questions.
perfect. So the first one is when doing in the program. So one of the shaping up ones, dumbbell Romanian deadlifts.
Yeah.
You want to go heavier, but you can only lift one dumbbell. Is that okay?
Now we were just saying this before, weren't we?
Yeah.
It's
There's nothing wrong with
no,
it.
there is nothing wrong with it, and it depends. So I guess it depends on what's limiting, and we've talked about this before. It depends on what's actually limiting you lifting the weight. So, and this is the same for any sort of pulling exercise where grip strength's your limiting factor. And, it's so yeah, if you can only lift one, and we talked about loads of different ways of progressing an exercise, it doesn't just have to be the weight. You can slow it down, you can add pauses. So if with the RDL, you can slow the lowering phase, so you can do instead of sort of 2 second phase, you can go down four, pause at the bottom and then back up. You can do more reps, you can add more sets. But if the grip strength is limiting, then dumbbells do make it harder because, well, for a couple of reasons. The first one is that it's just the fact that it feels like the dumbbell is rolling out of your grip.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to do that. If you use a barbell, you can do the switch grip so that if it rolls out of one, it rolls into the other, and it does mean that your grip's a little bit stronger. Um, Also, dumbbells, I think I've noticed in a lot of commercial gyms now, they go for quite thick dumbbell grips. They're not very thin,
Yeah. They
which
can be
does
quite
make,
hard. Yeah.
yeah. So, what do you use when you're struggling with grip?
So I personally use, they're called bear grips. Um, because I just, for my own reasons, really struggle when using lifting straps.
Yeah,
I don't like them at all. My partner uses lifting straps. But I use the bear grips and I get on really well with them because what they do is that in a way almost attaches you to that dumbbell.
yeah,
So then is if you feel like your grip starts to go, you're not going to drop it because you've got that grip.
yeah.
So it's not cheating in a sense of helping you with the weight. It's just that you're not, because for me I'm the same. Like I've got really small hands and where the dumbbells are quite wide, like to actually hold on to them to do a whole set is can be quite difficult. Whereas they really help me. But yes, lifting straps or like they're called bear grips that you can get hold of. They're also
Are
another good
they
option.
the ones with that leather? Are they the ones with that leather sort of flappy bit that you wrap
You
around?
put them around your wrist with like Velcro, and then they've got like a leathery flap. So that goes around the. So you put that underneath and wrap it up around the
Yeah,
bell, the bar, twist it into your hand, and then hold over it, and then it like grips you in like that way. So
yeah,
you've got like a solid, yeah.
yeah. So there
So
are a number.
simple. They flow lift straps, but you just don't wrap them. Just
Yeah,
fold them over.
yeah, and there's a number of different straps. So you have, like you say, you've got the bear grips with the leather strap. You've got your normal lifting straps, which you wrap around your wrist, and then you've got the long strap, which you wrap around the bar, and then you just hold on to. And you've got they're called hook straps. So they're like plastic hooks that sit in where your fingers are, and they take most of,
Oh,
or not plastic, they're metal hooks, but they wrap around the wrist.
yeah.
They've got a hooks bit there that you just put your hands over, and that just so there's lots of different types, and I think that's the key thing. And like you say, it's not cheating, because what
No.
you do is focus the load on the muscles you want it to. And if your grip is the limiting factor, and your legs or your back can pull more weight, then use the straps, and you can work on.
Yeah.
I wouldn't use them straight away. I'd always so when I sort of do them myself, if I'm doing deadlifts, for example, lighter weights, I'll use just my hands, because that means then that you're still working your grip strength. And then the heavier weights, you start using the straps. Alice is frozen. I'll keep going. But yeah, it's it's using those straps to basically take the focus away from the grip, and then you can then focus on the muscles you want to work. And it works not just for deadlifts, it's things like rows, pull downs, any pulling motion where your grip is the limiting factor. That's where I'd use the straps and make sure. But yeah, if it is that you can just lift one weight, then go with that. If you need to switch to barbells and using barbell RDLs, do that. But it's, yeah, absolutely fine. You do what you can to maintain, to keep progress in the exercise. And then if you need to look at adding reps, tempo, pauses, then do that. That's absolutely fine.
Perfect. And we're back.
And we're back. Second question.
So this is another one, which is about once you've gone through your deficit and you've sort of got to where you want to be in terms of your goals and you've hit those, how do you maintenance after being in that deficit? So how do you maintain that once you've done with your weight loss? What next, basically, I guess?
Now, this is a really good question because this is the one, this is a question that people don't think about. So when you're focusing on weight loss, we're constantly focused on hitting a goal weight, losing fat. And the bit people forget is what are you going to do afterwards? And it's kind of learning to maintain. So the first thing I would say is that well, there's lots of bit, but the first thing I would say is that the way we monitor maintenance is the same way that we would do fat loss. So I would always recommend the mistake a lot of people make is if they track to lose weight and then they've hit the goal weight, they stop tracking. And if you want to maintain, you've got to learn what your maintenance calories are. You've got to learn what that looks like in real terms, in terms of your food. So I would always say that once you've got to your goal weight, we need to work out what your maintenance calories are. And that's the same way as you'd work out your deficit calories. You know, you could do things, something as simple as taking your new weight, your goal weight, and you multiply that by 20 to 24, depending. So if you're a woman, you would multiply it by 20. If you're a man, maybe 24. That would give you a rough estimate of what your BMR is. And then you'd work out your activity as well. So for most people, it's around about sort of activity factor is moderate to light activity, maybe 1.2 to 1.4. So work out what your maintenance calories are using that. Or you could just put it in a calculator, enter your new goal weight, enter what your activity level is and all that sort of stuff. And that'll give you your maintenance calories. Now, one thing I would say is that through weight loss, we do get something called metabolic adaptation. So that is your calories, the calories that you need drop. All right. Now that most of that is down to the fact that you are lighter. There's less of you. So the less of you there is, the less calories you need. But there is a slight drop as well. So it tends to be around about 10%. So if you've lost weight, there are other factors in there. So your body kind of counteracts that deficit by slowing some processes down, making you slightly less active and all these sorts of things. And that does mean that you burn about 10% fewer calories than your BMR would otherwise be. Okay, so work out what your BMR is or your calories are, and then aim to eat just slightly below. So let's say you worked out your new maintenance calories and they came out at, say, 2,000 as your maintenance calories. I would aim to eat around about 1,900, 1,800 calories and then track it and then see how that is, see what that looks like in terms of your meals and your food. And you do that for a week, 2 weeks. Once you've done that, you need to weigh yourself. Okay, you actually need to make sure that that is right. So if the weight continues to drop, then you might need to up the calories, say another 100 calories or so until you get that maintenance. One thing you've also got to understand is that when we're eating at maintenance, we're going to eat more food. So we've got more food volume in our gut. We're going to have more carbohydrate. So your water weight is going to go up as well. So don't be surprised that if you start eating more food at maintenance, your weight will go up in the first week or so, and then it will level off, it will plateau. And that's what we're looking at. So once you've hit your goal weight, calculate your maintenance calories, eat at that sort of level, weigh yourself, and then do that for 2, maybe 3 weeks until it plateaus. And if you're eating at calories and your weight is the same, then that is your maintenance calories. And you learn how that looks. Now, I would say that, and this is something we always say, is that what you do to lose weight, you're going to have to maintain the vast majority of to maintain the weight to sustain those results. So this is why habit building and routine building is really important, and why, you know, sometimes these real short, sharp things don't work, because you have to really change your diet to lose weight quickly. And then it's then learning how to maintain it. So I would say if you're doing slow and steady, and you've increased your protein, you're eating more veg, more fruit, and you've reduced your processed food, keep that going. And then to maintain, what that would look like is you might you might have that glass of wine at the weekend. You might have the occasional chocolate bar to boost them up. But yeah, mostly eat what you're doing. Eat up at maintenance. Weigh yourself 2 or 3 weeks and see how that goes. And you have to adjust. It's not an exact science. That's the thing we've got to understand. You know, it's not an exact science. You can calculate your calories using these calorie calculators, but they are rough estimates at best. They just are. All of these calorie calculators just estimate things. So you have to try it and see what your body says. The most accurate way of measuring the calories you need is to eat the food, weigh yourself, and see how your body responds to it. And I guess the other thing as well is to understand that actually to maintain the same weight all the time is not normal. That's the first thing as well. You know, the people who can maintain body weight that's exactly the same all the way through the year, then they're not the norm. They are unusual. It is normal for your weight to go up sometimes a year and go down. So for me, I'm fairly typical. So over the summer, I tend to gain a little bit of weight, because July and August, we've got more barbecues, more social occasions. I've got my birthday. I've got my son's birthday as well. So there's more parties, there's more social events, and my weight will go up slightly. It drops again through September, October, November, because I'm busy with work and you know, just does. And then at Christmas, it goes up again. It drops again in January. Easter, it goes up again. So I have that cycle. But what I tend to do, and this is something I say to a lot of people, is that once you've hit your goal weight, instead of thinking I've got to maintain that, give yourself a range. So if, let's say your goal weight is, I don't know, 10 stone, right? Or 63 kilos. I sort of say work within a range of 10 to 10 and a half stone. So a 7-pound range, for example. So that'd be 63 to 66 kilos. And weigh yourself periodically, maybe once a week, once a fortnight, see how your body's going. And don't be surprised if it goes up and then down and up and down. As long as it's working within that range and you're consistent with your eating habits, then that's absolutely fine. But yeah, with maintenance, first step is calculate what your new maintenance calories are. Eat just below what that says for 2 to 3 weeks. Weigh yourself a couple of times a week and see what happens. It will go up initially, and then it should plateau off. If it continues to drop, then you might need to eat a little bit more. If it continues to go up, then you might need to eat a bit less. It's trial and error. It's seeing what works for you. And this is the bit that most people kind of skip. And it's a bit that most sort of these programs, when people say 12-week shreds, they don't coach you in this stuff afterwards.
Yeah. And it's the important bit. Yeah. And like you say, it'll be different for everyone, because we're not all the same. So there's not really a one way that fits all, which is where when you first start going back to maintenance, once you hit your goals, it can be quite difficult and quite a frustrating area while you work everything out, because the fat loss phase is actually the easiest in terms of being able to work out. Mentally more difficult, but you know, it's that overhaul. But like you say, if you keep up those habits and just keep doing what you're doing, you know, it's just a little bit of trial and error, and then it's.
And this maintenance bit is that learning to maintain is something that, this is what we do within the program as well, is that we give you those break weeks, so that if you need that break, because fat loss is mentally draining. It's hard physically, it's hard mentally. So having a period every 8 to 16 weeks where you eat at maintenance, you eat a little bit more, and you try maintenance for a week or so, it gives you those kind of and there is research. There are 2 studies. One was called IceCap, and I can't remember what the other one's called now. Oh God, I can't remember the other one. But there were 2 studies where they looked at diet breaks, And diet breaks, they didn't speed up weight loss, but what they did do was that they increased adherence to the plan long term. So you lost more weight, not because that it was magic and it made you, you increased your metabolism and it made you burn more. What it did was it made it mentally easier to stay in that deficit long term. So you did what they did was 8 weeks of deficit, and then they had sort of 2 to 4 weeks at maintenance, and then they went again. And over a period of 12 months, the people who had those diet breaks tended to lose more on average than the people who just went solid 12 months. And it was because they stuck to it for longer, because they could see, right, 8 weeks, have 2 weeks off, 8 weeks, 2 weeks off. And that made them sort of stick to the plan longer. So they lost more. So this is why we build it in, why we have those kind of diet breaks. And the instructions that we give is, don't massively overeat. Don't think, oh, I've got free reign. Maintain those baseline habits. Have a little bit extra of, if you wanted to have a takeaway pizza, have a takeaway pizza, but the rest of the week, keep those habits the same. And it just makes it mentally easier. And yeah, that's the key to it. And it's the bit that a lot of people kind of miss out when they're in a fat loss phase. But yeah, it is important. It's important because it's a skill that you've got to learn to keep things going long term.
Yeah.
Cool.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's everything we got this week.
That's that one. Now there was a I had this question. So I do a nutrition workshop thing every Friday, and I had this question on this was a really good one. So the person who was at the session, they wanted to know how you could monitor progress in other areas, not just exercise and weight loss and things like that. The question was, how do you monitor progress in things like, so her specific example was she was skipping and she wanted to know if she was improving. But she said it could be with anything. How do you know if you're getting better at something when there's something that it's hard to measure? So with weights, you can see that you're lifting more weight or if you're getting stronger. With weight loss, you can see if the scale's down or your measurements are going down. And she's like, how would you measure your progress across, say things like whether your sleep's getting better or whether you're drinking more water or whether you're, some of the habits, I guess, that we want to kind of instill. And I thought that was a really good one. I gave an answer, but I'd just be interested to see what your answer would be. I'm putting you on the spot now. How would you track the progress in those things? Making you think.
No, you are also, my signal's gone, so I didn't fully hear it. So it's tracking progress on something that's not as easy to track as like fat loss and lifting heavy weights.
Yeah, how do you
get that bit right?
Yeah, so how do you track progress in something that's not easy to measure?
Okay, yeah, sorry, the signal went when you were trying to explain it and I didn't hear a word of it. So I was just trying to decode the breaks in the Wi-Fi. So again, like I heard the bits about like tracking water. For me, this is where always having a water bottle is the most helpful thing. Because you can see. So for mine, it's a 1 litre water bottle. My aim is always to drink like at least 2 of those a day. So you're still tracking it in a way. So it's not as easy to measure as, like you say, lifting heavier weights, but it's still something you can track. It's actually one of the reasons that I got a fitness tracker again was for training for this triathlon, so that I can see how everything else is improving. So where she's like skipping, it's like, well, how long, set a timer, how long can you go for consistently without needing that break? With my swimming, it's like, how many lengths can you do before needing to stop? And it's all of those things that you can still measure them. It's just in a very different way. But by being able to look at those benchmarks, write it down, or have a way that you're tracking and measuring that, so you can still look back and see how far you've come. Everything that you're looking at in terms of a habit, you can still track how often you've done it or how you're progressing on that one. So if it's things like remembering to take supplements or anything like that, you can still mark it off on a calendar, like, oh, look, this week I remembered 6 out of 7 times, or, we worked out this many times a week compared to last week this many. So there is kind of a way to track pretty much any habit that you want to build. It's just that it will look different depending on what it is you're trying to track.
which is
That
exactly what
makes
I
sense.
said to this person. And I think the key thing is finding a way that works for you. So
Yeah.
it picking stuff off on a calendar. One of the
Yeah.
things I use is a habit tracker. So you can set your habit and then you tick off how many days you've done it, and you compare that consistency, because we know, both of us know, that it's what you do consistently that makes the difference. And it's that phrase, isn't it? There's being consistently good is always going to be better than being inconsistently perfect.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Like habits consistently, hitting that benchmark 80% of the time, but every week rather than 20%, 5%, and 100%, you're still making more progress as long as you're being far more consistent with it. And over time, you'll see that you'll improve on it.
Yeah. And
So yeah, everything there is a way to track.
yeah, and I think that's the thing that we need to remind ourselves of all the time. It's and you and me are the same. I can be all or nothing, the same as you can with things, but it's just remembering that yeah, it's just remembering that it's turning up for yourself as often as you possibly can. Like this week has not been my best one. I've only managed 3 workouts this week. I've done Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah.
I've not managed to do Thursday, Friday, Saturday for various reasons, being busy, tired. But I've done those 3 workouts. I've still managed to show up. And my food has been okay. I ordered a pizza on Thursday because it was late and I'd forgotten to get something out of the freezer. And last night we had, although it wasn't bad, we ended up with freezer tapas, which just see what's in the freezer and eat. But I don't, that doesn't bother me because I know this week is going to be a blip, and then next week, it's a new week, and
Yeah.
it's not, so I'm not thinking, oh, I'll wait till Monday. I just know that this week is going to be slightly different. So as long as we're consistently keeping an eye on these things, if you're starting tracking and ticking things off is great, but just subconsciously keeping an eye on them, making sure that you're being as consistent as you possibly can, that's gonna get you the results. And it is remembering all these little phrases that we've said. One burger won't make you fat, one salad doesn't make you thin. Missing one workout doesn't mean you're going to lose all the progress you've made. If you have to go lighter one week because of an injury, illness, tiredness, that's fine. When you're ready, you can go again. And it's understanding that dedicating a period of time to work towards your goals, and it doesn't matter what you're doing, whether that's health and fitness, whether it's a professional goal, whether it's personal goal, whether it's a family goal, it's having that goal in mind and just thinking every single day, whether we do a lot of progress, whether we do a little bit of progress, whether there's just maintaining, with as long as we're kind of moving forwards over time, then that's fine. And it's just tracking those progress. I said exactly the same to her though. I said with her, with skipping, put a timer, measure how long you
Yeah.
do it for, and then next week you just try and beat it again, or you try and do
Yeah.
it, do more skips in the same amount of time. It's that sort of stuff. So there's always lots of different ways of measuring the progress.
Yeah. And it's remembering that even just one extra or like 5 seconds more, that's still progress. It might not feel quick,
Yeah,
but it still is. And it's the same. Like I mean, it was still slow, but I did like my fastest, like 5K the other day, and it was like a few minutes off, and I knew that it still wasn't, I can go quicker. Like it's short progress, but know that you're always making progress. And I think that's the
yeah,
thing to always be aware of, is that you'll just keep moving forwards, and like you say, even if one week that means that you're just maintaining, you're still moving forwards.
yeah. And I think the one
You're not
thing,
going backwards, does that make sense? Like as long as you're aware of it and you know what you've got to do next time to make it even better, like that's still an improvement because mentally you know what you need to do to be even better.
yeah, and it's also remembering that if you're trying to do it, you are already doing far better than the vast majority of people that you're working
100%.
with. You know, I attempted a triathlon, shall I say, a few weeks ago. And I was disappointed in myself because I couldn't complete it. But actually, the fact that I turned up to do it, you know,
Yeah, still better than people that have never tried. Yeah.
that's the thing you've got to remember. If you are turning up consistently for yourself, even if you don't make progress in that particular workout or that week, you might not lose weight. If you are eating healthier, if your food's better, if you're, feeling better within yourself because you're eating better, that's fine. That's the bit you've got to remember, because it was a really scary statistic I was reading up this week. So with women, 50%. So 50% of women over the age of, I think it was over the age of 50, don't meet the minimum recommended requirements for your activity level. And the activity and exercise is 150 minutes of low to moderate exercise or 75 minutes of vigorous exercise per week. And half of women over 50 don't meet those recommended requirements. For strength training, it's even less. 16% of women over 50 do any form of strength or resistance training. That's not in the gym. That could be stuff at home, whatever, but there's only 16%. That's 1 in 6 people do.
Yes, not a lot.
It's nothing. So if you are doing something, you are already doing better, and the numbers don't massively improve if you go younger. You know, it's not like a huge increase when you go to 40 or above or 30 or above. But you know, if you are doing something, some strength training, if you do exercise and meeting those requirements, you're already better than average. And that's the thing that you've got to focus on. We're trying to make it so you're not average. Average people are either overweight or obese, inactive, not eating well. If your diet is better, if you're walking more, if you're doing some strength training, you are above average. And that's the thing you've got to kind of remember. And knowing that for me makes me feel better, and it means that I'm more likely to keep going because I know I'm seeing results. And I think that's something just to have in mind. You know, if you're doing something, you're already doing loads better than 80 to 90% of people out there.
Yeah, exactly. And like you say, it's showing up for you. Keep doing it for you.
Yeah, it is. And it is, I've said it before, but this exercise and diet is like paying into a pension, you know, and okay, you don't necessarily get the benefits, all the benefits from it now. But when you're in your 60s, 70s, and 80s, and I'm hoping to live that long, I'm going to be, you know, I'm going to be a lot fitter and healthier for doing what I'm doing than I would be otherwise. And I think that's another thing as well. If you ever doubt yourself, look around you. If you're ever down on yourself and you're ever kind of beating yourself up for things, or you think, oh, I could do better, and we can all do better. Let's be honest. There are always things that we can improve on because nobody's perfect, and that's fine. There's all, you know, to actually want to improve and develop and do better, that's fine. But sometimes we need to stop and look around, because I look at people my age, and, you know, don't compare yourself to younger, don't compare yourself to what you were in your 20s. Look at people who are your age now. Yes, there are going to be people who you aspire to, and that's good. But the vast majority, if you're doing something for yourself now, the vast majority of people are not going to be anywhere near you, you know. And I look around and I look at people I went to school with, and they look, it makes me feel better. I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to do it in a nice way, but it makes people, you'll understand what I'm saying. It makes me feel better. It makes me realize, actually, not in a kind of a, oh, look at me way, but it's kind of, do you know what? I'm 44.
You're doing all right.
I'm 44 this year, and I can, you know, I can keep up with my kids. In fact, I'm probably outpacing my kids, which is good. That won't last forever. So I'm keeping up with the kids, and, you know, I can lift a good weight. I can run. I can swim. I can cycle. I can do all of these things a lot better than the vast majority of people my age. And I think if we just, and that's the same for anybody who's going on this journey in self-improvement, look at the people around you, you know. Yes, there will be people who you think, oh, I wish I was like that. That's normal. And use that to push you. But then look at the people that probably, there are going to be people who look at you and go, I wish I was like that.
Yeah.
So that's a good note to finish on, I think.
There you go. Amazing. I'd say so.
Right. I'm going to let you get back home on the train, and you're off out tonight. What are you doing tonight?
Yeah. So Tom's friend is opening a pub down in Oxfordshire way somewhere. So we're heading down there tonight. I'm not going to know anybody. So yeah, put on my brave face and it'll be okay.
Yeah, social occasions.
So yeah.
My anxiety, that would drive my anxiety, but I'd have fun.
Yeah, I'll be okay. I will be okay. It'll be fine. So I'm going to go home. I'm going to jump on the bike for an hour, go on. Yeah, get ready and go. So yeah, another busy one, but yeah, all good.
All good. All right, then, guys. We'll be back next week for another Q&A. So keep those questions coming in, and yeah, we will see you soon. Bye for now.